Hey, and welcome back to the Fireside Chat by Mindshift Theory. And today I just wanted to take some time out and literally just talk about something that came up for us a couple of days ago. And so it was all about abundance, right? And we coined these three things that we wanted to talk about today as the abundance builders. So if you want to find out what these abundance builders are in your life, then stay tuned.
So we spoke about abundance builders and about why we need abundance builders, right? Because so often we feel stuck. We feel like there are no other options, that what we have right now is all that we will ever have. And that's not a nice place to be.
Yeah, that's when you're living in this world of scarcity, right? And so many of us find ourselves in that world constantly. And I think that's why this whole abundance builders, when Michelle brought this up, it was like, oh my God, abundance builders, that is such a good term, right? Instead of, throwing out, oh, just think positive, right? It's just another way of actually thinking about it, where your mind actually, interprets it in a slightly different context, right? It doesn't interpret it as, oh, change your mindset or think positive, right? When you say, here are some of the abundance builders that you can actually, implement in your life to help you move forward, I think that's a different concept, right? So when you said this to me, it was like, oh, that is flippin' awesome.
So when talking about abundance building, there are only three things that we actually have to do.
Okay.
The very first thing is to think about connections and connecting. And by this, I mean, think about the people in your circle, right? Yeah. The people that you have access to and how frequently you have access to those people. Because what is the common saying? You are
1/5 of the 5 friends that's in your circle, like your closest friends. 1/5 meaning that you'd literally, if you had 5 friends, you're probably all earning the same wage. You probably all have the same interests. You probably all live in the same neighborhood. There is a level, there's a cap from an experience perspective, from a growth perspective, from a monetary perspective, when you're in a social set that kind of caps your potential, right?
And we know this like firsthand. I think about when we were smokers, and how many times we tried to quit smoking, and how hard it was to quit smoking because we were in a friendship circle of smokers and everyone was smoking and no one wanted to quit.
Yeah, it took us a good 10 years to stop smoking. And within that time period, we literally had to flip our social circle multiple times in order to break that habit. And smoking is a habit, right? And I don't have anything against people that do smoke. I know it is extremely hard to stop smoking. And now I've become one of those snobs, right, that walks around and is like, oh, you shouldn't smoke. But I know how hard it is to actually get out of that mindset, out of that habit. And that kind of falls into an example of the thing that you're talking about at the moment, right?
Yes, that's right. So thinking about your connections.
Yeah.
I think one of the other example that you've used before is about getting outside of your neighborhood, right, and experiencing other things or people in other neighborhoods, just breaking from your everyday cycle with the people that you meet, I think is super, super important. And thinking about who are those people that you're spending most of your time with and how can you introduce more and more and more and more people to that group, because I think the more abundant our connections are, the more access we will have, the more opportunities we will have to abundance in our life.
Yeah, it's one of my key go-tos when I speak to younger people. It is get outside of your comfort zone. Go to a library, do something different from what your friends are doing. If everybody goes to, barbecue every Saturday at the same place, suggest something different. Suggest, going to watch a show somewhere. Just get outside of the current things that you're currently doing. I grew up in scarcity, so there was much around me. And to help me broaden my mindset, I used to go to museums. I used to go and walk around in wealthy neighborhoods. I wanted to go and feel what it felt like. I wanted to go and smell what it smelled like, right? I wanted to see what was possible. And I think that is so important when we talk about this concept of abundance building and one of these pillars, which is connect, right? Connecting with different people. connecting with people outside of your social space, outside of your norm. That's where the growth happens. That's where all the magic literally sits, right? When you are discovering new things and possibilities and opportunities start opening up for you. So connecting is one of those abundance builders that I think is so important, not only for you when you are a younger adult, but I look at us now and I think about our social circle. I mean, a couple of years ago, we traveled all of Europe with our kids, and we were able to literally just pick up the phone and say, hey, we're going to be in Europe. Can we, crash at your place? And we spent more money over a 3-month period for that holiday on car rental than we did on accommodation. That's because we have friends all over the world, right? And that's the value of connecting with the right people and expanding your social circle, essentially.
So connections is definitely one of the pillars of the abundance building framework.
Yeah.
The second pillar for me is nourishment, right? Think about how you are nourishing yourself. And this is both from physically, how you're nourishing your body, to mentally. If we think about physically, we think about what are you putting into your body? Because your body and your brain is quite literally using the things you put into your body to produce your thoughts and to think better and to work better. And so focusing on how you're nourishing your body is super, super important.
Yeah.
I
want to draw an analogy on this one because I think it's one that kind of has legs, right? I've always been a bit of a petrol head. I love fast cars. And I think of nourishment in the context of the fuel that you actually put into your car, right? And I know I'm giving away my age here. I know that we're heading into, the era of electric cars and different biofuels. But in my era, it was diesel or petrol, right? And this nourishment, if you think about it in the concept of what you're actually putting into your car to make it go, if you put the wrong type of gasoline or diesel into your car, it's not going to work well, right? And that's exactly the same thing with nourishment from a human perspective. And there's so many different elements that we can talk about here from a nourishment perspective. When you're human, we're talking about nourishment from a thought perspective, right? Nourishment from what you're consuming, nourishment from the conversations that you're having, nourishment with regards to the environment that you actually live in, right? Or the environment that you go out and seek. There's so many things that nourishes us as human beings, and I think that there is a nourishment deficiency in what we consume today. We consume bite snacks of social TikTok information all the time, right? We are constantly, just holding somebody's attention for 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes for the most. And that's nourishment that doesn't actually nourish your brain, right? It numbs you into this full sense of complacency, right?
So what are some of the things we can do, right? So I think focusing on what you can do is actually quite easy, right? If we think about the food we eat, right? We can eat more healthy food, stay more hydrated, eat less sugars, wheats, polyunsaturated oils.
Yeah, we can take more time out for exercise, right? We can go and walk more often. Go find space where you're actually just breathing fresh air. Myself and Michelle discovered breath work, a couple of months ago, and it is fascinating. Breath work is fascinating. It's literally the thing that's keeping you alive. It's such a connector for your mind-body connection that I think it's a really valuable thing to just go and explore. Go and explore breath work. Go and take a walk on the beach. Go and do some yoga. You're nourishing not only your body, but also your mind, right?
And then also things like, what are you reading, right?
Yeah.
Go and pull some books from the library and read as much as you can.
Yeah. I guess the point here is there is so much social media that we are consuming. We are on social media all the time, right? We try and limit our kids' intake of social media, and it's really, really hard. It's even harder for adults because There are some times where I realize that I've just been scrolling for the past 15 minutes and I have to catch myself. You could easily be scrolling for an hour, 2 hours a day, just consuming nothing. It brought you nothing but lulled you into a sense of complacency. There was nothing that you saw at that specific time period that is going to move the needle for you in any way, shape, or form, right? And that's a common theme that's happening to everybody in this world today.
It is, although I am less judgmental of my doom scrolling.
Yeah, because it is for research purposes.
Because social media only gives us what it learns we want to see, right? Right. So I have trained my social media to give me the stuff I want to see. So I don't look at politics or, I don't know, whatever negative information there is out there. I'm only consuming how to improve my thinking, how to become more abundant, how to get better at all the things I want to get better at. And those are the things that it feeds me back.
Hablar mucho español.
I only, lots and lots of learning how to speak Spanish.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of different people wanting to teach me Spanish, and that's great. Every time I sit and yes, I'm consciously aware that I'm watching for longer than I should. And so I do try and limit that, but I know that every time I am scrolling, there is something I'm learning. And if I get to too much time where I haven't learned anything, then I'm switching off, right? And it's like, this is not worth it. I'm not getting anything from it. So I think if you can make sure you're getting what you want from your social media, you are in control. It is not in control of you.
And I think that's the point, right? I think, just to kind of finish the thought with regards to the social media piece, is awareness. That's really the point here, right? Just be aware of what it is that you are consuming, because that awareness will either translate into complacency or it will relate into something that's nourishing you, right? And I think awareness for me is always top of mind. It's always the first thing that I think about. You can't improve anything in your life without being aware of where you are right now, what you're doing right now, your habits that you have right now. You can't do anything about that if you don't have that awareness first.
Which actually leads quite nicely into the third and final pillar of abundance building, and that's rest.
Yeah.
Because your body and your mind and your brain needs to rest. In fact, this idea of efficiency is so crazy. Like in this world, we've tried to be more and more efficient and get more and more things done faster and faster and faster. And ironically, that's leading to less efficiency.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to work in the corporate world, like most people. And, there was a time period in our lives where we used to wear working 16 hours a day in our job for somebody else, driving their profit line as a badge, right?
Badge of honor.
Yeah. The harder you worked, the more you could kind of wave that badge around, right? The more people would say, oh, you're such a hard worker.
It's crazy. I was so proud of the fact that I was the first in the office in the morning and the last to leave at the end of the day.
Yeah. And how crazy is that, right? We have literally been conditioned to think that that is the measure of success. The corporate world has literally entrenched that into our brains, right? You don't get ahead if you don't work 16 hours a day. And I don't think that is a truism. And we learned that later on in our life, right? It just leads to your burnout at the end of the day. It leads to your unhappiness. It leads to your unfulfillment. And you have to find a way to correct that, right? Otherwise, it will lead you down the path of actual burnout at the end of the day. And that's never a good place to be. So we thought we'd put together this quick video with regards to what are the abundance builders out there and how can we think about it in a slightly different context without talking about, mindfulness or mind shifting or positive energy or vibrations or anything like that, right? And I think abundance builders is a really interesting way of actually, taking those concepts and putting it into a construct that is based upon, connecting with people. It's based upon nourishing yourself, your thoughts, your body, and it's also based on rest, right? For us, rest is so important. It's the element that I think so many people overlook. Having a good night's rest is probably the best thing that you could do for yourself, because there's only so much cognitive bandwidth that you have every day. And every day, if you are burning that midnight oil, for 16 hours a day in your job, you have no additional cognitive bandwidth to think outside of the box, right? There is no more petrol in your tank in order for you to think about that new idea, envisage a new life for yourself, do something different, right? Engage with your family in the way that they need for you to engage with them. There is no room for that bright spark of an idea that just floods your brain when you're sitting in the shower or you're going for a run. There's none of that without proper rest.
And it's crazy, like even top athletes know this, right? They know that our bodies are freaking amazing, right? And with enough rest and recovery time, they can be more effective and more efficient in their whatever sport they're doing.
Performance goes up.
Performance goes up when you give your body and your mind time to rest. And the same applies to everything.
Yeah.
And there are so many different things that we need to think of when it comes to rest. There is getting enough sleep, getting adequate sleep. And, I know a lot of friends who tell me, oh, I only need 4 hours of sleep a day, or who say exactly that. They don't need as much sleep as other people do. And that might be a case, but I think it's for a limited period of time.
Yeah.
I think, yes, you can train your body to need less. Your body can get used to what you're giving it.
Yeah.
But I do think that eventually that will also lead to burnout. So sleep, the other forms of rest, I think, are meditation, right? Doing yoga, taking that walk on the beach, doing nothing.
Yeah.
Getting used to doing nothing and just actually allowing your mind to wander. That is when the ideas come to you. That is when the solutions come to you.
Yeah. That is so important. We find that happens to us all the time. We runners, so I meditate when I'm running. Michelle, not so much. But when we do take some time off and we just disconnect, we find that there's a flurry of new thoughts that actually comes into our heads, flurry of new ideas. It is fundamental for you to actually be a top performer, to be at the top of your game, right?
How many times haven't you been stuck at your computer trying to find a solution to something and it's just not coming?
Yeah.
And the harder you try, the more and more it just doesn't come to you until you stop, you step away, take
go
a
for
break.
a walk, go swim in the beach. We teach this to our kids now. Our little boy is very much into 3D drawing through Blender, and he got stuck one day. And I could hear in the room that he was frustrated, right? And I said to him, look, it's just going to take a walk. And when we came back, the solution had popped into his head, right? And that's just a simple example of everyday occurrences where we see how important just taking a step back and taking that rest and coming back to that solution or coming back to that problem. So try it for yourself. Just take a step back, take some rest, take some time out, and you'll see what a big impact it will have in you finding the solutions that you're actually wanting to implement in your life.
And so those are the 3 pillars of abundance building.
Yeah.
Those are the only 3 things that you need to do. And actually, they're quite easy to do, right? None of them are difficult.
Yeah.
And one of the tricks, I think, that we've figured out to get there faster, to create the habits in your life faster, is to do the 75-day challenges.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So pick one thing, right? From rest, connection, or nourishment. One thing out of one of those 3 pillars and focus on doing that thing for 75 days.
Yeah.
Right? Whether you are, like we have multiple times, quitting sugar for 75 days, journaling for 75 days, meditating for 75 days, whatever it is, just try doing it for a 75-day period and you will see how your life changes, how abundance flows into your life.
Yeah. So if you enjoy this conversation, give it a thumbs up, right? Share it with somebody that you feel might actually benefit from just the conversation, right? From the concept essentially itself. That's exactly what we're trying to do here at Mindshift Theory. We're trying to literally just put content out into the world that is for the betterment of everybody's mindset, right? Because I know that you can change your world through changing your thoughts. It has been so prevalent in our lives, and we just want to share as much as we possibly can with you, our audience. So I hope you enjoyed the program, and we'll see you in our next Fireside Chat.
See you next time.